You're about to hear a story based on actual events.
There is a figure standing in the bathroom.
This comes through the wall into the home.
Perfect. Hi.
Hi, Izzy.
How are ya?
I'm good.
That's good. We're on, right?
Where we've started.
Yeah, cool.
Great intro. I just thought 10 seconds of silence at the top would be pretty riveting for everybody.
Yeah, what's that for?
I was waiting for one of us to say we're back. I think we've done that nearly every episode so far.
Yeah.
We are back.
We are back. We haven't recorded for a couple of weeks.
But for you guys, there will be
But
no
for you,
delay.
No delay.
We're still running strong on those episodes we have up our sleeve.
Yeah, we've only got a couple more.
What's an interesting phenomenon now to us is hearing the episodes come out, but
It was weeks ago.
it was a long time ago that we recorded them, and I realised we've made a lot of promises in the last episodes that we have not made good on.
What promises?
We both said that we were going to do homework and buy briefs and then work out in them. I'm not
Did
sure
we?
how that eventuated.
I don't remember.
And I also said
did
I
we
was
say
going to
that in
figure
the
out how
last
people...
Episode?
Episode 4, I
yeah.
believe. I also said that I was going to figure out how you get 2 initials and a last name. And I Googled it because I was like, I'll do one of them. It'll be impressive. And I couldn't really find anything reliable. I think you just have to...
I think you can just do it yourself.
That's
like,
what
you
I
can
think
just,
as well.
What's your name? Edmund.
I think it's
So you
self-prescribed.
just be Ellie Hamilton.
Yeah, no, I think we've had that discussion too, but I don't have one that rolls off the tongue well.
Ellie sounds like Ellie.
Yeah.
Like the chick's name.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie. Short for...
I think if your first name starts with J, you're off to a good start.
Or T?
Yeah. If you've got a hard consonant at the top, you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. I.E. Lewis. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's not too bad. You have 2 middle names, don't you?
I.E.D. Lewis. Sounds like a STI.
You're the expert.
I am, you're right. I have all of the STIs.
Don't forget the STDs as well.
Yeah. Cheers. Worked hard.
What's been happening with you? Is give us an update.
I've been on break from uni. I went to Melbourne for a week, which was nice. Back at uni now. I got my results back from last trimester.
Yeah,
I already told you.
Yeah, you told me that was...
Yeah. I did pretty good. Pretty happy.
Did very well, considering you're doing a statistics course.
Yeah.
Which we've both discussed our hatred for
Yeah, absolutely.
in the past.
And we probably will again.
I don't understand people that like that.
I don't
type of
understand why
maths.
people become statisticians. Statisticians?
I think there's a few applied versions of it that actually have useful...
I think if you're good at it, you're good at it. And you probably enjoy it somewhat. So my final exam, I studied so fucking hard for, and like it paid off. Obviously, I got like 39 out of 40 marks, which I was like, fuck yeah. But like, because I knew exactly what I was doing, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I in no way want to do it again.
I think that's the same with any course that you do at uni, and probably a lot of things in life as well. If you're prepared for it, it's really enjoyable. But I remember going into exams at uni where I just like obviously wasn't ready for. I didn't prioritize it. I'd be just walking in hungover. And it was such a bad feeling. And then I'd go into exams that I actually cared about and studied for and be like, maybe this isn't so bad.
Yeah. I think a lot of my other exams will be like theory based as well. There's not like you're not like working things out. So I kind of enjoyed it in the end because it was like one big thing with all the different formulas that you use. I was kind of like, oh, I know about this.
Yeah. You're into the theory side of things though. You do well in written, like long responses.
Yeah. I enjoy that sort of stuff.
That was my nightmare. That's why I did engineering.
Yeah.
I didn't
But surely you still have to do quite a bit of theory stuff.
Oh, there's a lot of theory, but there's not many long form response.
See, I could write an essay all day, every day. I'd prefer to do that than exams.
Yeah, I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
An exam's good because it's like condensed form of you just go in there, leave it all on the table, and then you're done. Whereas if you're doing an assignment, you're worrying about it for weeks beforehand. And
yeah, but it's so anxiety inducing waiting for your marks back for an assignment, for an essay, a fucking exam. An assignment, you kind of know whether you did well or not.
I think you can tell in an exam whether you've done well.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if you can't tell if you've done well in an exam, you've done poorly.
Well. Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. There was one of my exams that I was like, oh, I might have failed that, but I ended up getting a distinction. So
sometimes that's the case.
Yeah.
Depends what kind of standard you have for yourself.
It was like all true and false. It was like mostly true and false questions. And because they're true or false, there's only two answers. Like you second guess yourself so much. And they're tricky.
Tricky multiple choice is a tough one because you're always having an internal battle of whether they would try and trick you on a multiple choice question or they would keep it straightforward because there's a lot of ambiguity with multiple choice. But yeah, often they will just try and trick you.
Yeah. Can't trick me, motherfuckers.
It usually is. It usually comes down to 2, even if you've got 4. I think there's 2 stupid answers.
Yeah, well, there's usually one really stupid answer.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
You usually
narrow it down to 2.
You know you're not ready for an exam when you can't identify what the stupid answer is, and you're going, I'm the stupid answer in this scenario.
Sometimes they're like so ridiculously stupid that like people writing the exam would just be having the biggest laugh whilst doing it.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure there's some people that answer that, like write that as their answer.
Some people must. I think the percentage would be so low.
Yeah.
But it would happen.
Yeah.
If you're in a multiple choice exam, sometimes if you don't know the answer, it'll be a follow on one. You can, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I did in a couple of my exams. Just gone. So good. So good when you can do
exam creators who are doing that are the real MVPs. I loved it.
Absolutely.
There was an electronics course at uni, which I was like, I totally phoned in. The day before I had to take the exam, I watched 17 hours of lecture capture in a row. This is at 1.5 times speed.
17 hours.
Yeah. And fortunately, by some miracle, the professor for that subject had just phoned it in as much as I had. And I think she was like taking over for another professor who had gone on sabbatical, and she really wanted the job full time and the uni didn't give it to her. So she kind of, it was a bit of a spite move. She made the exam easy and a bunch of the ones where you could work backwards from other questions. And like, I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm pretty sure I got a high distinction for the course based on that last exam.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Couldn't have happened at a better time.
If you can get away with doing that, why not get away with doing that? Don't you want your students to succeed?
I don't think it looks good if you've got a high majority of high distinctions and no one's failing.
No, it means that you're a great teacher. No?
No.
Okay.
No, because no matter how good of a teacher you are, there's still going to be a certain percentage of people who are awful.
Yeah, that's true.
And just not show up to class.
That's very true.
That's a bit of a revelation when you realise you don't have to go to class.
Well, I still have to go to class. It goes towards my grade at the moment.
Do you have attendance-based courses?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I had attendance-based tutorials, but...
If none of them are attendance-based, I just probably won't go.
I think I have to keep a pact with myself, and as soon as I start not going, then it's all over for me.
Yeah.
So I would just be like, I'd have perfect attendance because I couldn't let myself get away with it. I'm my own worst enemy.
Yeah, I'm the same. Because I'm only doing one subject this trimester as well. I think that it'll be hard to like motivate myself to
There's
go.
definitely a ghost in your house. Sorry, can we just take a sidebar? The lights have been flickering in a really creepy way.
Don't say that. You know, you've got to go at some point and I'm going to be in my haunted house.
Are you home alone?
Sienna, I don't know. I'm home alone at the moment. Hopefully not all night.
Well, it's definitely haunted. Well, you won't be home alone, that's for sure.
It's Halloween as well.
It's not stopping.
Do you not just think it's just a poor light? It's going out?
No, I think it's some poor soul who has unfinished business in this realm.
Why are they just saying g'day now?
The lights are flickering on and off just in case anybody, just for a visual.
Scary. Spooky.
Yeah, I was just listening to a podcast about the exorcism actually, and I was in a bit of a spooky mood, so maybe I brought it with me.
Maybe. The demons latched onto you and you brought it into my house.
Yeah. What are you doing for Halloween?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, you got to get candy.
No.
You have to.
No, I don't.
We're in this really weird time in Australia. It was never a thing when I was growing up, but it's like there's a lot of ambiguity now. And a ton of kids actually do Halloween now.
I don't think anyone's coming to knock on my door.
We got so many kids last year.
At the house you're in now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had candy. And then this one kid, I was so impressed with him, little hustler, came around at like 8:30.
PM?
Yeah.
That's so late.
He was a lot older than all the other kids.
Okay.
He's probably like 13. And then he's like, yeah, I'm the last one out. There's no one else out here. I might as well just take a few handfuls. And I was so impressed with his hustling. I was like, dude, go for it.
Take it all.
Yeah.
Wowee.
I didn't empty the bowl for him in case anyone else came around, which ended up being a huge problem because we had this massive bowl of lollies just sitting there. And like every time we walked past, you'd be going for it.
I got candy last year because I lived across the road from one of my girlfriends who has 2 kids. So I pretty much just got the candy to give to her kids. And we didn't get any other trick-or-treaters. But it was a bit of a party house, so...
Did you eat all the candy yourself?
No, because it was all non-vegan candy. Unfortunately. It did sit in the cupboard for like months after. Probably until we moved out. But I don't think it was the most welcoming house for children. This house is probably a bit more welcoming.
I'd say you'll have a few here tomorrow night. You should get a little bit of candy.
Okay. Sure.
Don't let me tell you what to do.
Do you have to get it? Does it have to be individually wrapped?
No, you can do whatever you want.
Do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had loose candy in our bowl last year.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast today. My Favorite Murder do like a mini episode each week and of like people that have written into them. And some chick wrote into them about Halloween when she was like 8 or whatever. They went to like a house in their neighborhood of like some weird dude lived there and they were walking up the driveway and the weird dude was like standing on the driveway and he just reached into his bag and pulled out like all these loose potato chips. What a maniac.
What a legend.
Maybe I'll do that tomorrow.
That's pretty good.
Or I'll give them like pieces of apple or something.
That's a cruel trick.
Is a cruel
that's
trick.
Terrible.
Well, it's not as cruel as like making like an onion look like a toffee apple.
I have some cooking to do tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
Am I saying Halloween wrong? You said Halloween.
It's Halloween. What did you say?
I said Halloween. I think you said Halloween.
Yeah, well.
Like the pumpkins.
Sue me.
Maybe I will.
Halloween.
Does Halloween have a mascot?
Like a pumpkin or a ghost or something.
Yeah, but is there like an equivalent of Santa?
I don't think so.
What are the Halloween origins?
I don't know, something about the spirits and dead people coming out on the 31st of October. I'm not sure of it. Yeah, I'm not sure. Look, I was going to do, even though this comes out way after Halloween, the original, you know how I've got like 2 up my sleeve that I was going to work with tonight?
Did you have a spooky one?
One of them happened on Halloween. But I was like looking into Halloween ones.
Yeah, okay.
Also, Teresa Hallback from the Making a Murderer.
Yeah.
She was murdered on Halloween. So I like thought about doing that and then I was like, oh, I don't know. People might not enjoy it.
People
I
would
might not
I would have enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm going to say something controversial. I haven't seen Making a Murderer yet. I know, considering the podcast that we're doing, I really should be on top of it. As we were discussing before, though, murders aren't necessarily my specialty. Speciality. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm really going to be focusing on it. And a lot of people know more than me about it already. I'm pretty far behind the 8 ball on it.
Yeah.
So I might play to my strengths.
Yeah, for sure. Leave the murders to me.
I just realised we might not be doing our duty not having done a special spooky Halloween episode because it's a mysterious podcast.
This won't even come out on Halloween.
Yeah, but it is. Oh, yeah, okay. We'll be more prepared
Spooky
next year. We won't let it happen again.
Like 2 weeks later.
I'll put some spooky music in.
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds good. For the one that will come out this week.
Oh, it feels like a lot of work. No, I will. I'll put some spooky music in at the top.
Cool.
I like that when TV shows will record a different version of their theme song.
So good.
For a special episode.
Yeah, The Simpsons. Really good at doing that.
Or they've got a different title sequence every time. I feel like I'm moving into dangerous territory.
We'll just have a themed show every single week.
I'm coming to the edge of my knowledge for The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I'm about to start talking about stuff I have no idea about.
Yeah. This is the Chains of Mystery podcast, by the way.
If you just sat through 16 minutes of verbal diarrhea, so should we start now? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
should I hit record?
Yeah.
All right.
What I did want to say, getting a little bit serious for a minute. So in our first episode, I think it was one of the inspectors from the Rackman said something about it being an unusual death. And I responded by saying that's mansplaining at its finest or something like that. And someone has since brought to my attention that mansplaining and that kind of language is actually quite damaging for, you know, the fight for equality. And at first I kind of was like, oh, you're upset because your whole gender's being, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, at first I was like, fuck you. Like, women have been oppressed for hundreds of years. I'll fucking use the term mansplaining if I want to. But I've since done some research and realized that it actually is quite damaging language because it just shuts down the discussion. It man shames, which is not what feminism is about at all. So I will cease using the word mansplaining.
How do you feel about the word manspreading?
The same.
You don't like it?
Well, it's the same kind of... It's man-shaming.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And you're like isolating men and silencing men. And the fight for equality includes men. And we should be fighting the patriarchy, not men.
All right, well, I hope I wasn't letting all the boys down by not bringing that up at the time. I was fine with it, but now my eyes have been opened, I won't let it slide again.
Well,
I'm really going to come down hard on Izzy, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really not going to let her get away.
Well, people
with
use it all the time, and
behavior.
I never really thought too much in depth about it. And people use it in like a humorous way. But I think, you know, the research that I did on my own, that kind of language just trivializes the issues at hand.
I think that one sneaks under the radar even more because people like portmanteaus of words.
Yeah.
It feels really fun.
Yeah.
I know I like
absolutely.
them.
Absolutely. It does feel fun to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to address that in case anyone hated me for using the word mansplaining.
I know I definitely did.
Yeah, so that's one for the boys.
Yeah, that one's like a little oppression torpedo. It really sneaks under the radar.
It does. So I'd never thought about it. And as, like, you know, someone who likes to consider themselves woke, if you will, it's hard to be told that what you're doing is actually negatively impacting everything you kind of
you
fight
have to
for.
get special sunglasses made because your third eye is so open. Keep talking. I'm going to get my cup of tea.
Well, now I'm talking to myself. It feels strange.
I'm sure you're used to it.
This is true. Well, Puss is talking to me.
I had to work really hard to not let Puss be an active member of the last podcast. I edited a lot of Puss content out. Not
I think you
it
should
was
just
bad.
leave it in.
Yeah, but you can't really hear her, so we both just kind of sounded like crackpots talking to nothing. I think it would be better if it was more pronounced. I could edit like fake cat noises in maybe.
You could do that for the Halloween episode. How's your cold tea?
Yeah, it's not good drinking temp.
If only you had that amazing invention that I spoke of last
Not
podcast.
optimum. Yeah, what did you want to have? You wanted a little flag
flag
that comes up when
Like
it's the right
beeps or something.
temperature.
Ready? Like a microwave. But like
I'm
cute and
holding
dainty.
fast on my idea that I like the thermometer component of it, but I'm not on board with the flag.
But a thermometer with a flag at the end that pops out. How fun would that be?
Are you talking about the flags that would be in American mailboxes?
Sure. Why not?
All right, it's pretty cute.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cute. With like a little teapot saying, I'm ready, or something.
Yeah, we'll workshop the I'm ready bit, but
Okay.
maybe I'm more on board with the flag.
Yeah, perfect. Should we get into it? Do you want to go first?
Let's get into it. I think it is my time to go first.
Not that we're taking turns, but
Thank you.
I'm excited. What do you got?
You better be. You better get pumped.
I'm pumped.
I'm going to be talking about James Salerno and the ideal human environment.
Goodness me, what is this?
I'm glad you asked. This one really, it definitely flew under the radar for me, and I think for a lot of other people, because when I heard about it, or when I looked into it, I was really surprised that it wasn't bigger in the news. You can file this one under C for cult.
Cool. Your speciality.
Potentially, we'll see how it goes. I really like the what I've looked into on cults so far. I think it's one of the most appealing ones for me.
Yeah.
And they're so creepy. This one, the ideal human environment was. I'm gonna use the term cult pretty loosely in this episode. You'll see why as we go along. Hasn't necessarily been locked down as a cult one way or the other just yet.
But it's cultish.
It definitely has a lot of cultish elements.
Yeah.
So the ideal human environment was a movement that started in the early 80s by a Vietnam War veteran and multi-millionaire businessman James Salerno. For 4 decades between the 1980s and 2015, Salerno dedicated his life to a unique social experiment which eventuated in what he called the most important discovery in the history of humanity, the ideal human environment. Salerno claimed the discoveries he made had the potential to end all wars, violent crime, family breakdown, drug addiction, workplace conflict, and nearly every other problem wrong with the modern world.
This sounds great. How do I join?
It does sound great until Salerno was accused of sexual assault in 2015 and faces charges of unlawful sexual intercourse with a 13-year-old girl.
Oh, gross.
Yes.
Fucking, what's his name? James. Fuck you, James.
I know. And that's what you just said. I think is going to ring true for a lot of what you hear. There's a lot of stuff about this that it sounds like a really good idea. And I'm not saying it's great, everything they're doing. We're just saying lots of elements to it that there are a lot of good ideas, for sure.
Well, of course, who doesn't not want war, apart from DT?
Well, even down to the little things like the execution and a lot of the philosophies that they have are really impressive. It's kind of like the Unabomber with his manifesto.
Yeah.
It's like it is really a lot. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
That's
his
the
execution
thing
wasn't the best thing.
These people believe in what they're doing so much. Have you heard of that movie that's new on Netflix called 22nd of July?
No.
It's about that guy in Norway who killed all those kids. Do you know that case?
No. Yeah, murders really aren't my specialty.
No. But anyway, he set off a bomb in a government building in the city in Oslo. And then while everyone, because there's no barely any crime in Oslo. So everyone was freaking out about this bomb. And then when that was all happening, there was a camp, a children's camp, on an island just near the city. So he dressed as a cop, got on a ferry, went over, said he was there to debrief the kids on what happened in the city. And as soon as he got to the island, just opened fire and killed all these children. And he was a far right terrorist. And he so believed in everything that he did, throughout his trial and stuff, no remorse whatsoever. And at the end of it, he was I'd do it all again.
I'm definitely going to watch that.
It's so fucking
I just
good.
listened to Young Charlie.
Oh, I think I started listening to that.
And there are a lot of things in the ideal human environment that remind me of
Charles
and the Manson family. One of them being they actually called themselves the family.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few cults called. There's one in Australia.
Well, this is in Australia.
Oh, this is in Australia?
Yeah.
Wowee.
Yeah. I should have said that at the top.
so-
I'm back home. We haven't done an Australian one in a few
I'm
weeks.
excited.
Yeah, which is why I also got so excited about this.
I thought you were doing a bank heist.
This case. No, I'm doing a cult. I said file C and file
you
for
did
C
too.
under
I think when
C
you
for
got to
cult.
my house, you started talking about bank.
Oh, I got really pumped about bank heist this week. I'm really on a bank heist, in a bank heist mood at the moment.
Yeah.
So you'll probably hear a few of them in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sorry about it.
You shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, but this is Australian, which is why I was surprised we didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
And it's recent.
Okay, I'm really excited. Tell me more.
I will tell you more. I'm going to talk about James Salerno to start off with because he's the central figure in this. He's the Manson, if you will. So James Salerno came to Australia with his family from Italy when he was 7 years old. When he was 19, he enlisted in the Australian Army and served 1 year tour of duty in Vietnam. According to Salerno, he was unprepared for the horrors that he was facing in Vietnam and said, when he came back, I realized that war is the worst human environment, so I imagined the opposite of that. In his early 20s, he approached an academic in Adelaide regarding his mission to create the ideal human environment, with the main focus being on stopping people from killing each other. The academic told him that it would be like trying to row a boat upstream with a crowbar, which was disheartening to him.
Well, that would be disheartening to anyone.
Yes.
It is disheartening.
And you know, it's like typical early 20s stuff. You think you're going to be able to change
Oh, absolutely. I still think I can change the world.
the world. Yeah.
I'm only 26. I've still got time.
But he actually went out and made some moves. I think I just
I know,
thought
like,
that
so
and then just
far-
sat around
Yeah.
watching TV.
I mean, I do a little bit here and there. Not too much. I could do a lot more.
I'm going to restrain myself from asking for specific examples, only because I know that I definitely do less than you do.
Well, I do a little bit of mental health activism, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I want
you
to
do.
work in mental health, studying mental health, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you definitely do more than me.
Yes. Anyway, this sounds great. Sign me up.
So James spent the majority of the next 10 years traveling the world searching for answers. He studied different religions and social systems, spoke to different religious figures, including the Dalai Lama, about how to resolve
spoke to him.
interpersonal and social conflict.
Wowee.
Yeah,
Surely it's not that
pretty
easy to
impressive.
get a meeting with the Dalai Lama.
It didn't say to the extent that he met him. It could have been like for a meet and greet where you get him to sign your favorite.
Post?
No, I don't have like, I don't know, sandal maybe.
Printed out positive affirmation from the internet.
Yeah. And during this time, he got involved in property investment in Australia to fund his travels, studied psychiatric nursing and teaching in Perth,
Wow.
and lived with an Indigenous group where he learned ideas about social harmony from the elders.
Fucking hell. He
If there's
sounds
somebody who
very
makes you
impressive.
feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this
Until,
guy.
keep in mind what he did to a child.
Yeah, so it probably attracts a certain type of personality to be able to have
I think you have to have a certain level
that much on
of
your plate.
like narcissism or psychopathy or something in order to be like, I can do all this.
I think so.
And like, how the fuck did he invest in property to fund his travels? How did he buy
I'm
the
doing
property?
neither of those things and I'm still stressed.
Yeah. Jesus.
So after years of research, Salerno decided that it was time to put his ideas into action, convincing family members, friends and colleagues in Adelaide to help him create a social environment where people could live together and feel emotionally and physically safe. He also took out advertisements to recruit members for what was described as a new community dedicated to creating a harmonious world. It doesn't get bad for a long time. Like a lot of this stuff, it just keeps going. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't know about this.
I almost
I
stopped
would've been
halfway
on
through it
board.
because I was like, maybe I'm going to go and join them. Maybe I'll leave my old life behind.
I think I'm quite easy to convince of things. I
Absolutely.
would probably join. When I was watching Going Clear, the Scientology documentary, I was like, sign me up. I hate, like, obviously, I came to my senses and I'm not a Scientologist.
I feel like Louis Theroux could convince me to do a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely.
So, by the early 1980s, Salerno had gathered a small group of people who were willing to serve as both researchers and guinea pigs. So the guinea pigs would be observed and have their lives scrutinized 24 hours a day by the researchers. That's basically how it went. While they were in Adelaide, the group began to develop laws on how to deal with each other, and they tested different organizational structures and leadership rotations within the group. So these are early days. They're just figuring, I think it was a bit of trial and error, and they're just basically doing social experiments.
So he was like early 20s.
Yeah.
Seems like a real go-getter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think these like cult leaders attracts a pretty particular
Yeah.
type of personality,
Yeah,
and they're generally pretty magnetic.
for sure.
More
Yeah,
power to you if you're a girl. Female cult leaders are crazy successful.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of research on cults as well, and I think I don't know what particular in what values it is, but I think also a lot of the time for women it's not driven by sex, which can be a bit of a hang up that male cult leaders have.
Yeah. Like,
That's
oh, I'm doing all
generally
these
the-
great things, but you also have to fuck me every morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whereas that generally isn't the
The
case
case with women.
with female cult leaders. So while all this was happening, Salerno became rich through a series of successful investments, largely in property. I hate this guy. By the mid-1980s, he relocated the core research team, which included his wife and children, to the Kimberley.
When did he get a wife and child? At some point.
While
Before
he
it all
was
started?
while he was investing in property and traveling the world and
Goodness me, where do you find the time?
being the Dalai Lama.
I'm exhausted thinking about it.
Honestly, I barely have to, like every day I'm flying out the door late to wherever I need to go. I can just barely get breakfast.
You were an hour
in.
late tonight.
Yeah, I was. And that's good for me.
Yeah.
Like if I show up on time, I'm like,
You've
early.
never been on time for anything.
Well, it's
I
early.
think one time you were like 10 minutes late, and I was like, you're pretty much on time.
Yeah. It's fine though, because all it means is that I think that my time is more important than everyone else's.
Yeah.
So at least it's not a fundamental character flaw.
Yeah.
So he relocated the research team to the Kimberley, which even if you're Australian, you might not know where that is.
I think I've heard of it.
It's a remote area in the northern portion of Western Australia where he bought El Castro Station, which is like a big cattle station. And he ran a cattle export business until 1991, where he sold the ranch to an English aristocrat for a huge profit. And the ranch is now a thriving tourist destination.
Wow.
Because
of his...
No, this isn't off the back of him. He just had a really good eye for property. So it was just a good spot,
But he
I
sounded
think.
like he could have done some good things.
Yeah. Unabomber.
Yeah.
These people have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Slightly misguided, potentially.
Yeah.
In the late 1990s, Salerno set up Project Research 2000. This guy's got a good names for things as well.
Say it again.
Project Research 2000.
Oh.
It just
great.
rolls off the tongue.
It does.
I always like to think of these guys who are, like, if they were sitting around, like, workshopping name ideas, it makes them seem pretty foolish. Really humanizes them. Because you remember us sitting around trying to think of a name for the podcast. We looked like foolish.
Yeah, I was picking up like picture books.
Can we have a picture for the title? No. So Project Research 2000 was an experiment designed with the intention of road testing the principles he and his ideal human environment team had been developing. It was a one-off survivor-like event consisting of about 60 people, 3 from China, 1 from Singapore, and lasted for 5 months.
Where did he get these people from? Did he hire them?
Yeah, just like recruiting people, like family, friends, and then advertising. So the group left behind lives in the city to set up camp next to a water hole on the edge of El Cuestro. Upon arriving at the camp, the group members were given a copy of Salerno's rulebook outlining the principles of the ideal human environment and told to forget everything they thought they knew about the operations of a perfect society. Salerno described the event as the largest, most unique and ambitious social experiment of its kind in human history, which is like overstating it, but it's still pretty significant.
Surely he would have had to get approval from like...
This is the 1990s. You can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
I think in one of our previous episodes, I said they didn't even have fingerprint technology in the 1990s, which means that my idea of it might be a bit skewed, but...
I think that's when it sort of came... No, they had fingerprint technology early on.
A lot earlier than that.
Yeah.
Maybe I was talking about DNA. DNA would have
came
come
about
in the 90s.
around the 90s. Early 90s, I think. O.J.
So,
Simpson.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it the OJ case?
Around that time.
Must have been the first prominent case it was used in.
Maybe.
Based on my zero knowledge on the topic, I'm going to throw out a very specific piece of information. So, unlike me. Okay, the experiment did not go exactly to plan. Scrub fire almost destroyed the camp. One of the boys narrowly avoided death.
Was it just men?
Due to appendicitis. No, there was men and women there. The 2 group members suffered from gastroenteritis and others were hospitalized with severe infections. Yeah, they were pooping.
Yeah, we've all had gastro. Don't brag.
Not me. I'm a picture of health. One man left hours after he arrived, refusing to be a part of Salerno's compulsory ranking structure, which was based on a person's emotional intelligence. None of the participants remained with the ideal human environment at the end of the 5 months. But apparently provided an ideal setting for Salerno's research, which was focusing on understanding how humans can achieve emotional maturity in harsh environments.
Right.
Sounds like my nightmare.
It sounds really interesting.
I wouldn't want to be one of the 60 people.
No.
I would
thank
fly
you.
on the wall, but as long as I could come and go.
Yeah, I'd be like a researcher. Like,
It also must take a particular personality to be fine with being one of the guinea pigs of the group. Like, I would have to be one of the
There'd have to be
researchers. My
some kind of
personality
incentive.
wouldn't be suited to being a guinea pig.
no.
No, okay, well, we'll see. Some of the other social experiments undertaken by the group over the years included giving $100,000 to a chronic gambler in an attempt to better understand addiction and psychological diseases, which I really want to see the detailed notes on that one. I think that'd be really
They gave
interesting.
$100,000 to an addict.
Can you imagine being a
To a
gambler,
gambling addict.
broke, and somebody gives you $100,000?
Oh, I'm sure I just fucking put it straight back in the pokies.
Yeah. He's like, is there a $100,000 coin so I can do this
There's
in
other
one?
ways you can understand addiction. Is there not?
Well, I think that I kind of appreciate they're doing a real first principles type of research. Like, it makes them seem stupid because you're just like, obviously they're going to Gambler and what information you're going to get about it. But they're going from an interesting angle. The execution missed the mark,
Yeah.
but it's an interesting angle.
What did he study? Teaching and...
Psychological nursing? Psychiatric nursing.
Yeah.
They also put 30 people in a farmhouse in Queensland and told them to live off the land for 6 months. And this one it doesn't really make any sense. They bought a $700,000 Rolls Royce, a $300,000 Ferrari, and a $100,000 Hummer as part of a project on the Gold Coast. That's us.
That's us.
This test was designed to test human behavior as it relates to luxury car use, which just sounds ridiculous. Like,
Sounds
these are
so ridiculous.
yeah. It
That
kind of
just
puts
sounds
the
like
other
you're
two
trying
experiments
to-
in perspective.
Just trying to spend some money.
Yeah. That's like the fastest way to flush 1.1 milli down the drain.
That's absurd.
Yeah. Side note, not super important to the cult, but apparently the Ferrari was popular with young men. What a surprise. The Rolls Royce was favoured by older women and the Hummer was barely driven at all. So it makes me proud of the Gold Coast. I would have thought that we would have been worse than that.
Worse than that?
Yeah,
What do you
like
mean?
some people would have taken the Hummer, which is clearly the worst
when
choice.
Hummers first came out, I wanted one.
I wouldn't
I was
put it past
Hummers
you, yeah.
are fucking rad.
That you're
But-
the exact kind of person they're made for.
Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't really surprise me. What year was that done in? Do you know?
I think it was after around 2010, the Gold Coast experiment.
Yeah.
I wonder if
I mean,
we
the
ever came
Ferrari
across
and
those
the
cars.
Rolls Royce doesn't surprise me.
Not at all. They're both great cars.
And the fact that the men favoured Ferraris and women favoured Rolls Royce.
I would probably choose the Rolls over the Ferrari.
Yeah. They seem way more pimp
Yeah.
than a Ferrari.
I don't know if a Ferrari would really suit my personal style either.
No, probably not. A Rolls Royce is pretty badass.
If I had a Ferrari, I'd be at risk of getting places on time.
Because you'd be so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine just
Imagine how
cruising.
late you could show up in a Rolls Royce and nobody would
No
bat
one
an eye.
cares.
If you showed up late in a Hummer...
Have you ever been in a Hummer?
No way.
So one time it was Australia Day, and you know how I love a party nap. So I was like partying all day, went home to have a nap, got up, was ready to party again. And I took my goon sack. This is years ago. I would have been 18 maybe. Got my goon sack, went to wait for a bus to go to some party. And this Hummer, he went past and then he did a lap and came back. And stupidly, I'm so lucky I didn't get raped or fucking murdered or something. He was like, oh, do you want a lift? So I rock up to this and I was like, fuck yeah, I want a lift.
No.
So I rock up to this party in a Hummer.
It's such a miracle that we're not talking about you on this podcast. You should have been murdered.
I should have been murdered, but I wasn't.
I can really respect a party nap as well. I just wanted to say that
Yeah.
because I can't do them. If I take a nap, I'm
You're
done.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm such a sleepy drunk. Not anymore, but I was.
Now you're a really peppy drunk.
No, I'm not a drunk.
That remains to be seen.
Been a
No,
sober
congratulations.
year, motherfucker. Thank you.
Yeah. That is a huge achievement. I'm really sorry for what I said.
It's fine. I forgive you. You're an asshole. I know it.
I know it too,
Anyway,
actually.
let's
This is
get back
not
to
news to
we don't
me.
want to talk about you. Get back to the story.
So one of the core beliefs of the ideal human environment was that nobody does anything wrong deliberately. This one is a little bit interesting. This is probably where I diverge. I don't know if I can get on board with this. So the extreme case of this is that people like murderers and pedophiles are born that way and cannot be expected to control their impulses unless, of course, they follow the principles of the ideal human environment. Bold claim to make.
That's such a bold claim to make. And absolutely, I can't get behind that.
It's obviously garbage. Like, psychologists have pretty much debunked the not nature versus nurture. There's no impact, but for something like on the extent they're saying it, it's not
People
true.
aren't born inherently evil.
No. And
So,
I think
like sometimes, yeah, for sure. But
in response to that, I think, because obviously it has been proven
Yeah.
that it's not the case. But Salerno, which is interesting considering what he had studied and his experience with it, but he didn't really give any weight to mainstream psychological thought. So he said that he's taking advice from a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a social worker is the same thing as going to an astrologer or a gypsy.
what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't get your fucking PhD in tarot cards.
Yeah.
Fuck you, James.
Yeah, that's interesting considering, because he seems pretty rational about other things. But
Yeah.
it's like to give no weight at all to
At
that.
all to...
That field is interesting.
Yeah, that's absurd. Yeah, that makes me, as a psychology student...
It kind of makes me feel bad for gypsies too. Astrologers I'm fine with. I don't care about their feelings.
Why do you care about gypsies' feelings?
I just like gypsies.
What is a gypsy?
I think in this instance he was using it pretty derogatory.
Yeah.
Like a gypsy, in the true sense of the word, it's like somebody with no fix. It's a transient. And
Yeah.
they're Europeans. Like no
yeah, like
fixed
English
address. Yeah.
gypsies.
Yeah.
Gippos, I think they call them. Is that racist?
No, that's the correct term.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's bullshit. Fuck you,
Yeah.
James, not you.
His foray into that sort of side of that world, the psychological world, though, was a self-published book in 1996 on the emotional quotient, which that in particular was what he used as the deciding factor for the rank of people within the ideal human environment. It's called emotional quotient. I'm not 100% sure
Emotional
what the
quotient?
ins and outs of it are, but it's something relating to emotional intelligence, which is also seems like a pretty interesting concept. But that's pretty much what he gave all of his weight to as far as psychology goes. But the children in the group were also ranked like the adults, and high-ranking children, they had to answer to the high-ranking children. And so, like, the children were, like, doling out punishments to the other kids. And
Wow.
it sort of falls apart at that point, I think.
Yeah. I think at some point that amount of power just must go to your head and you just must start like fucking slowly losing the plot.
Yeah, I think...
Sometimes some of these things start out so good and then it's just like at some point they're just like lose their minds.
There's a lot of really good ideas, but I think once you start blurring the lines that much and you start questioning everything, it's going to lead you down the garden path on a few ideas that aren't great.
Yeah.
Like letting kids punish other kids is a terrible idea.
Terrible.
Children are monsters.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're becoming psychoanalysts on this episode. I mean, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I've got you here, so I feel like I can just say all this stuff. And I'm like, Izzy's backing me.
Yeah.
This is
I'm a first-year psychology student. I know nothing.
between us. We almost have no experience. So I think that qualifies us to really. I think we should at least try and put down some diagnoses by the end of the episode.
Right. I've already diagnosed him.
And then we should recommend some treatments.
Cool. I'll listen to this back when I've got my fucking doctorate in psychology and be like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be
Can't believe I put this on
hilariously
the internet.
bad for you if you ever have your own practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so the group members surrendered their financial independence. They handed over all of their assets and income.
Oh, classic cult.
Yep. All the group's money, including the revenue from the pastoral station, property and stock market investments, and I think there was also a law firm. So Salerno's daughter, Emma, was a barrister. I think they had their own law firm. So they would have been making bank. Would have been getting paid. And all the money went into a pool for research projects and living expenses. There's going to be a few times through here where there is quotation marks that you're not going to hear. One of them was research projects. That was definitely in quotation marks because of this awful research they were doing.
And what's the living expenses?
Such a harebrained scheme. I think that's pretty legit.
Okay.
Like food. So I read in one of the articles that their food bill was $800 a month. I didn't think it was necessary to put it in the for 30 people. I think it was at that point.
$800
But
a
they
month.
grew all their own vegetables, and
Yeah.
I guess they had
I was
pretty.
going to say, I spend that much on food a week.
That checks out. I didn't think it was going to be necessary, but I ended up bringing it up anyway. So there you go.
There you go.
Little fun fact.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm worried I've been saying his name wrong the whole time.
You probably
Salerno.
are.
I'm
How's
going
it
to keep
spelled?
none of your business.
Cool.
Salerno. Anyway, Salerno compared it to a couple that starts with separate bank accounts and later merge their finances. Alarm bells. If somebody's comparing
Absolutely.
your commitment to a group as you and your wife.
If someone's
They're
trying
getting
to
too
take all
close.
of your money and all of your belongings, you're in a cult.
Yeah. So the members were limited to spending $100 without first getting approval from the Wisdom Bank.
Is that what it's called, the Wisdom Bank?
The Wisdom Bank was a small subgroup within the main group, and they also decided like the ranks of people within the group, and basically the higher ranking people.
Yeah.
So they were limited to spending $100 without getting the approval of the Wisdom Bank, and any personal objects they bought had to be shared with everybody in the group.
Wow.
I'm definitely falling off again here as well. I would hate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you go out and buy some M&Ms, you got to share them with everyone.
Yeah, I'd be hiding M&Ms for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not sharing those with anybody.
No, thank you. So there's 30 people in the group at this point.
Yeah. 30 core members at this point. So the group set up a charitable foundation in 2005 and received an endorsement from the Australian Tax Office, gaining tax-exempt status, which meant that because all of the income from the group members were given as donations to the charity, nobody paid any tax on their income.
Yeah.
So in 2011, the tax office found out what they were doing. They revoked the tax-exempt status, and then they ordered the group to pay $3.5 million in taxes owed since 2005.
Wow.
I think they took that to trial
Yeah.
to
course
appeal
they
the
did.
charges. I'm not 100% sure where they ended up with that. But there was like a lot of go-getters in the group, like lawyers and accountants and stuff like that. So I think they've been pretty smart about it. Salerno had said that he was only interested in money so that he can achieve everything he wanted in researching for the ideal human environment. They had a business manager at the time, and she said that the group had assets worth at least $10 million in 2015.
Did they all live together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they said that making money had to be a very important focus because you can't call something the ideal human environment if people are broke. Which I like that. A lot of other cults are like the Manson family, they had nothing and they...
Yeah, but the ideal human environment wouldn't be controlled by money.
Yeah, I know. But I like that they're rich.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't play into the ideal human environment thing as much, but
Yeah.
it's also shows how flawed everything is. Like I think now looking at all this from the outside, there are definitely some good things, but there's so much of it. Just like you people are
He
crackpots.
seems like a little bit of an elitist, maybe.
Yeah, I think that definitely played into it. A lot of the people in the group were like very
Rich
successful.
people, yeah.
Yeah. But they just didn't mind living in a cult.
It's crazy that so many well-to-do people and people like smart fucking people end up in situations like this.
Yeah. I think a lot of the elements that contribute to people's success can also be like character flaws.
Yeah.
Like a lot of psychopaths are very successful.
Yeah.
And obviously their personality is not going to be 100%. But there's a lot of stuff that you get from being a psychopath that lends itself to success. So since the trial it was in March 2017, this is where a lot of the elements of it being cultish had sort of come to light. So all of that stuff is pretty tame. But then I think in the the trial, they really highlighted some of and I guess the media jumped on it a little bit more during the trial, and they kind of just cherry picked a lot of the stuff out, so all of this stuff is potentially framed in a way that makes it seem, its aim is to make it seem like a cult and strange, which is why I said I was going to use the term cult very loosely, because, that might not be the right definition for it. But this is all the things that make it a cult. So the mansion they lived in, Salerno had a large bedroom suite on the second floor, while the other group members lived in dormitory-style accommodation, which was called the barracks.
Is that what they say in, like, the army, in the military? Yeah.
One of the other elements of the group was the roles of men and women, so it was very outdated, probably the roles they played. The women in the house were responsible for cooking and cleaning, while girls as young as 13 were trained to be Salerno's personal servers. The prosecutor in the case explained that the services included caring for his hands and feet,
goodness me,
by manicures and giving him manicures and pedicures, running him baths, towel drying him afterwards, brushing his hair, doing his laundry, and giving him hand and leg massages.
Fucking hell.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. That's absolutely a problem.
Yeah. No decision was made without running it past Salerno, and on one occasion he ordered all of the men to strip and wrestle naked in front of the group, and then ordered all of the women to do the same.
Fucking hell.
The members were required to do exercise every morning before 7 a.m. and then line up in a row afterwards, which...
Like
it's not the worst thing. Yeah, that's probably more of a military
I wish
influence.
someone was trying to make me exercise every day.
I think so.
At 7 a.m.
Yeah.
But stand in a line, no thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody was in really good shape as well, because there was an article, a lot of the specific information I went through was from an article in 2015. So a reporter from The Australian went and spent 3 days with them. This is before any of the charges came out, and they just found out about this, what they were doing, and the guy invited them out there to go. Salerno invited them to go out there, and he was like, nobody's ever reported on this. You'll be famous if you're the first ones to report on it. Yeah. And so they were kind of going into it, obviously not knowing any of the stuff they had done, and they were saying everybody was like, he might be onto something. Like, everybody's super fit, and it's a really healthy way that they all communicate with each other, and really interesting.
If you've got 30 people or whatever living in a house and everyone's fit, alarm bells.
Definitely.
Something's going on.
If two adults living in a house and they're both fit, there's something wrong.
Something's wrong. Absolutely. But in saying that, I wish someone was making me exercise every day.
So punishment there were apparently different punishments for whatever it was, disobeying Salerno or the group, or just not pulling your weight. Which apparently included being struck on the head with a metre-long stick that had a large wooden knot at the end. No thanks.
Wooden knot?
A knot, yeah, like like in trees, they all have knots in them.
Oh,
not a knot in the wood.
Yeah.
Not tied in a knot.
No.
Being treated like slaves, being made to sleep outdoors, or not being allowed to eat.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Apparently,
or legal, probably.
I don't think is it illegal to not let someone eat?
Yes. Well,
it's definitely illegal. Why would I say something like that? You can't.
Well,
you can't starve people.
Are illegal.
Not being treated like a slave isn't necessarily illegal, but it's not great. Having an actual slave is definitely illegal. According to the prosecutor, Salerno required that members refer to him as Taipan, and they regularly use the phrase "praise Taipan," which I don't even think is a cool nickname, but whatever. During the trial, one of the members had said that it was a lot of talking about how great Taipan was and how he was put on the earth as God's gift and how we should all honour that. They said that we would often wear white clothes because that was like a pure energy, and we were often told that we were there to serve Taipan, so we had to be open to the messages coming to us.
Goodness me.
Yeah, it's getting more and more far
very,
out.
Very culty.
One of the other members told the court that when Taipan would enter the room, all of the group's members would stand to attention, put their right arm over their shoulder and say, "Strength and honor." in a similar way to how the soldiers react to Russell Crowe in Gladiator. So I think that pretty much comes directly from Gladiator.
I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Right.
What
I
do
think
they
it's just
do?
one of the things they do that.
Like this?
Yeah.
Strength
it's good,
and honor.
good for a visual medium as
Yeah.
well. That sounds so goofy.
If that's what they do in Gladiator, did Gladiator come out
I
before
think it's
this?
more like this.
Oh, like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So like with your fists, not like
This is gonna be an awful
Yeah.
experience for anybody listening to this.
cool.
Izzy did like a Freddie Mercury move, whereas did more like a Black Panther move.
Yeah, you did like a Black Panther. I did like a
Heil.
yeah. Let's leave it there.
You got the hair to match. One of the other members of the group told the court that she received training on how to be a good female. I know you're going to love this part.
Oh my God.
Which included how to dress, how to behave, and how to conduct themselves around males.
Fuck
They were
you.
told that males defer to God and we defer to the males.
Jesus Christ.
Very traditional gender roles.
Very, very traditional.
So, yeah, he stood trial in Adelaide District Court with no jury. He pleaded not guilty to 9 counts
Why
of
did he not
unlawful
have a
sexual... Because he pled not guilty to 9 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse. The victim claimed that the sexual abuse started when she was 13 years old. And she said that to ever say no to him, you were disrespectful. It was subordinate, and if you ever did say no to him, you were punished.
Fuck, what a piece of shit. So how did
Total POS.
how did they find out about him abusing girls?
I think a lot of it had come... Oh, okay, I might be out of my depth a little bit here. I think a lot of attention came after... So first the tax office, they came into the spotlight a little bit, but I think after that Australian article in 2015, they got a bit more attention.
Yeah.
And then I think she might have
Like come forward.
come forward to the police.
Have others come forward since?
I think a lot of the others, there were some other stories, but this was the only thing that was admissible.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the other stuff the judge had heard about and was like, that may have happened, but there's no way that we can verify that. So I think this is the only one that were solid enough to take to court.
Yeah.
The decision is being handed down in February in 2019. So
Is he in jail at the moment?
yeah.
Yeah. So he faces trial again in February?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Yeah, so he pled not guilty. So then, yeah, in February, that was when something will happen again. So hopefully we'll have an update for you then. I'm definitely going to keep my ear to the ground on it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have a picture of him? Oh, he looks like a piece of shit.
He looks like he could be in the mafia a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Why is he's posing with like a army
I think that's
sleeping
it.
bag?
Yeah, because he's all about like
The military.
surviving in harsh environments.
Yeah, right. Ugh, hate him.
He's pretty easy to hate.
Yeah. It's so sad because he could have done so good. Like, obviously, when he started, maybe his intentions were to always be a fucking piece of shit. Maybe he's always been a piece of shit, but like it sounded like he had some pretty good ideas.
Yeah. He probably wouldn't have had such an impact if he didn't have the freedom to do something like that.
Yeah.
If he was forced to fall into line, I think that his genius would have been wasted, but it was definitely misguided to the point where it obviously turned out poorly. But a lot of the stuff that he was onto a lot of good...
Well, it's crazy that he thinks it's wrong to kill people. Like he said after he'd been to war, he wants to create an environment where no one kills anyone or whatever. But it's okay to fucking rape a 13-year-old girl.
I think there's definitely an element there of you just lose your way after you start questioning. Yeah,
I think if given enough power and freedom, people go a bit nuts.
definitely.
If you're told that you're a fucking god every day, soon enough you're going to probably believe it.
That
and
would
start
wreak
being
havoc
like,
on my ego,
yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. You can be like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Nobody calls me God, and I already am on such a power trip.
Yeah, we need to bring you back down.
Yeah.
You piece of shit.
Maybe I kind of like that as well.
Maybe. Okay, cool.
All right, let's cut to a break.
All right.
Now we're back on.
Cool. Alrighty. So I came across this because I knew about the band, but I was reading about the murder of Dirtbag Darrell from Pantera. And I was like, oh, I want to do something similar to that, but obviously that one's solved.
Hang on, am I going to say something really stupid here? Or is his name Dimebag Darrell?
Dimebag Darrell.
Okay.
I'm the stupid one.
I just didn't want to let that one roll away from me because I should know that.
Yeah. Well, I should know that too.
You should definitely know
And
that.
I didn't. But anyway, so I started looking up like rock and roll mysteries, and this one came up.
Great.
So I'm doing this one, which is the disappearance of Richey Edwards. Have you heard
I
of
know
him?
zero about it.
Have you heard? Do you know of the band The Manic Street Preachers?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the Manic Street Preachers, who are sometimes just called the Manics, are a Welsh rock band. In 1986, cousins James Dean Bradfield and Sean Moore, along with their mates Nicky Wire and Miles Woodward, started the band. The origin of the name remains kind of unclear, but the most often told story is that Bradfield was busking one day and got into an altercation with a homeless man who asked him, "What are you, Boyo? Some kind of manic street preacher?"
I wish I was the kind of person where cool stuff like that would come out of my mouth.
Yeah. Cool stuff comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, but not Manic Street Preachers cool. Maybe
Yeah.
I need to be homeless.
Maybe. Start calling people Boyo. See what happens.
Oh yeah, I've been called a boy for years. No, I haven't been, but it's going into high rotation for me immediately.
Yeah, perfect. So Woodward left the band in 1988 because he believed that the band were moving away from their punk roots. And that same year, they released their first single, Suicide Alley, as a 3-piece. The band became a 4-piece again when their driver and roadie Richey Edwards joined the band as co-lyricist and rhythm guitarist. Edwards quickly received cult status among fans for his dark, politicized, and intellectual songwriting. Some even cite him as being the leading lyricist of his generation. Big call.
Big jump from being a roadie as well.
Yeah.
He would have been stoked.
So stoked. However, he showed very little musical talent and often mimed playing guitar during live performances.
Yeah, nobody's actually playing guitar live.
Aren't they?
No.
Are you just up there miming?
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
I feel
think
like it would be hard to do.
to mime, it would
Yeah.
be really hard. It'd be almost harder than just learning how to play your instrument.
Yeah. Because you would still need to make it look like you're playing.
I think yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And
whatever.
then what if
But
you accidentally strum and then you make a noise and then it's all over?
I don't know if maybe back then it was more important. I don't think people would be bothered now, and I think it's more impressive if you can write lyrics. Like that's
Yeah.
you're of more value. Anybody can play rhythm guitar.
Okay.
About to hear from a lot of angry rhythm guitarists. You actually have to be pretty skilled to be a good one.
Really?
But there are a lot of terrible rhythm guitarists which you need almost no skill for.
Great. So despite Richie's lack of musical talent, he contributed greatly to the band's musical direction and played a leading role in deciding the approach of the band's sound. He said that he wanted to create something that was like Pantera meets Nine Inch Nails meets Screamadelica.
It's a hell of a cocktail.
It is a hell of a cocktail. On the 15th of May, 1991, this is just a little bit of background on Edwards. On the 15th of May, 1991, after a Manic Street Preachers show at the Norwich Arts Centre, Edwards got into an argument with NME journalist Steve Lamacq, who had questioned the band's authenticity. Lamacq asked Edwards how serious he was about his art, and Edwards responded by carving the words "for real" into his forearm with a razor blade, like numeral 4 real. Do you want to see a picture?
Yeah, I desperately want to see a picture.
And the injury required 18 stitches. So you can't see, like, there's no great photos, but you can see it there.
Nice. And
you can also see it. He's also, like, pretty hot.
Did he do it while...
Look how beautiful he is.
Yeah.
And you can, like, see the scar. You can kind of see the scar there.
He looks like a goth Noel Fielding, who is already a goth.
Yeah. I think he's gorgeous. But anyway, hectic.
Yeah, that is hectic. That's a proper rock and roll move as well.
Absolutely.
I don't make him like that anymore. No. Can you imagine if a member of One Direction on the red carpet...
They're not exactly rock and roll.
Pulled out a razor blade. But I'm just like popular musicians at the time. Yeah. I think Manic Street Preachers were pretty popular.
Imagine if June Rats got up there and...
Wouldn't be surprised about that. If they haven't done that already, I'd be surprised.
Edward suffered severe bouts of depression and was always very open about it in interviews. He'd said that he self-harmed by stabbing cigarettes out on his body and by cutting himself. And he had also suffered from anorexia. So that's why he had no qualms about cutting his arm open.
He was well seasoned.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if this is going to get me in a lot of trouble. I'm going to say it anyway.
We can cut it out of it.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not as exposed to it as I used to be either, but I feel like self-harm is not as prevalent as it used to be. Like, I feel like there was a period where it was really popular.
Yeah. I think people self-harm in different ways.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously I don't know what it's like to be a teenager nowadays, but when I was a teenager, we were all cutting ourselves.
It was so popular.
Yeah.
I remember being a teenager. It was when the emo phase sort of first came
like
in.
MySpace.
And that was a big part of the culture.
Yeah.
And it was so popular. And again, I don't know if it's just because I'm not hanging out with teenagers, but I never hear about it anymore.
Hopefully this doesn't get us into any trouble.
No, I don't think it will. You just talk about it.
But I agree. Like, you don't... I guess, I'm not fucking checking up on teenagers on... I guess maybe I'll find out more about this as I go through my degree. I'll let you know. But, yeah, when I was, like, in grade fucking 8 or 9, maybe even younger, like, we were all cutting ourselves.
Yeah.
I still probably have, like, scars. Like... But like, I was doing it at home because I was sad or whatever, but we were also doing it at school. Like, I was carving, like, upside-down crucifixes into my hand.
Yeah, a lot of people were doing it because it was their way of... it was their way of, dealing with whatever it was. But there were a group of people, a significant amount of people who were doing it because it was cool.
Yeah.
Who had no issues whatsoever.
Yeah. I definitely started going through mental health adversity when I was quite young, but I don't think I was doing it because I was trying to ease pain or anything.
No, you were.
I was doing it for attention.
Yeah.
100%.
Doing it for MySpace.
Yeah.
MySpace and cutting really went hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway. But yeah, I know what you mean. It seems like it's not as huge as it was. But maybe that's just because we're adults and we hang out with adults.
I think everybody knew about it back then, though. I think it was pretty common knowledge.
Mm.
Whereas, now you don't hear about it.
No. So in 1994, after the release of the album The Holy Bible, Edwards was admitted to the Priory Psychiatric Hospital and the band appeared at a number of festivals as a three-piece. Following his release from the Priory, the band toured Europe, with Edwards' last appearance with the band being at the London Astoria on the 21st of December 1994. Their performance ended with the band smashing their equipment and damaging the lighting system, causing £26,000 worth of damage. Which is...
Yes. I didn't have any in mind because it was so recent.
50...
Don't choke now.
£50,200 in today's money, or 90... Why can't I think of how to speak?
90,000?
90,600 Australian dollars.
Yeah, with hundreds.
Yeah, I'm like, am I saying this wrong?
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's a lot. I wonder how popular they were at the time, because if you...
They were very popular.
Yeah. What level, I guess, who would you compare it to now?
Well, they were like, so I'll go into it a bit more, but when Edwards disappeared, and it was like not long after Kurt Cobain suicided. So I think it was like everyone was sad.
Right.
I don't know. I think they were kind of grouped together. I mean, they were in no way as big as Nirvana.
Yeah.
But
well, if Nirvana did $90,000 worth of damage, you would kind of let it slide.
Yeah.
But if a local band came through and wreaked havoc on your...
Yeah. I think they were definitely bigger than like a local band.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's $100,000 worth of damage in today's. That's rock and roll, man.
That is rock and roll.
No one's doing that shit these days.
No.
I wish they were. It's exciting. It's fun.
And I'm about to say the most un-rock and roll thing of all time, though, but who pays that? Who pays? Where does the $100,000 come from?
I have always had like a bit of a dream of being a rock star, even though I've got barely any musical talent, but
you're well on your way.
I'm well on my way.
No musical talent is almost one of the things.
I'm not spending a couple of $1,000s on a guitar and then smashing it.
Yeah, no
way.
Yeah.
But anyway, I dare say they were fucking all drunk and high.
All right, no need to profile.
All right, so at 7 a.m. on the 1st of February the following year, so 1995, Edwards checked out of the Embassy Hotel in London where he'd been staying. Him and James Bradfield from the band were due to fly to the US that day on a promotional tour. Edwards drove from London to his apartment in Cardiff, Wales, and no one ever really heard from him again. So in the 2 weeks before his disappearance, Edwards withdrew £200 a day from his bank account, which totaled £2,800 by the day of his scheduled flight. So it kind of appears that he was stockpiling money. Stockpiling?
200 at a time. I feel like that
Yeah.
could either be stockpiling or drugs.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, £2,800 is not a lot of money to have on you if you're planning to disappear forever. And according to another account, Edwards gave a friend a book called Novel with Cocaine the night before he disappeared and instructed her to read the introduction, which details the author staying in a mental asylum before vanishing. So it could have been a bit of a forewarning for what he was planning. In the 2 weeks that followed his disappearance, he was apparently spotted in a passport office and a bus station, both in Newport, Wales. And on February the 7th, a taxi driver from Newport claims to have picked up Edwards from the King's Hotel and dropped him off at the Severnview service station. A week later, on the 14th of February, Edwards' car received a parking ticket at the Severnview service station, and on the 17th of February, the vehicle was reported as abandoned. For some reason, I added in here what type of car it was.
What is it?
Vauxhall Cavalier?
Vauxhall. Yeah.
I don't know why.
No.
Maybe we'll turn it into a car podcast.
Put a photo of the car up on...
Yeah, if I can find one.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah. I'll be looking at lots of photos for him. For the Instagram. So police discovered that the battery of the car was dead, and there was also evidence that the car had been lived in. The car was parked in close proximity to Severn Bridge, which is a well-known suicide site. Because of this, it is widely believed that Edwards had taken his own life. Many people who knew Edwards believe that he wouldn't be the type of person that would contemplate suicide. And he himself was quoted in 1994 as saying, quote, "In terms of the S word, that does not enter my mind, and it never has done in terms of an attempt, because I am stronger than that. I might be a weak person, but I can take pain."
That's really sad.
End quote. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and this also might get me into trouble, but as someone who has had depression, that sounds like something I would say when I'm thinking about killing myself.
I was just thinking about how underqualified I was to say something like that, but I had the same thought in my head.
Yeah.
Because I think if I was in that situation, that's exactly what I'd be saying.
I don't want to generalize, but I think if you have severe depression, you've thought about killing yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but like...
And it seems like not that I'd be in that situation, but knowing my personality, I think it would be the first thing that I would do is play it off exactly like he did.
Like, no, you've got nothing to worry about. I'm not going to kill myself.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Every fucking
I think
morning.
It's less common. It's definitely less common to have people who have suicidal thoughts or commit suicide being known to talk about it beforehand or joke about it. Like, I don't think it's...
in the midst of like a depressive spell, you're not openly talking to reporters and being like, oh yeah, actually I'm thinking about killing myself tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of people draw the line, because it says that he'd been open about his depression, which a lot of people are, like celebrities who have depression. No, I'm not saying they all are, but a lot of them are quite open about it.
Yeah.
But I think that seems to be where people draw the line.
Yeah. But yeah, as someone who has contemplated suicide, I've probably said something similar to that. So take with that what you...
Lucky there were no reporters around.
Lucky. But yeah, personally, I don't give that much credit.
Yeah, I wouldn't give that much.
Yeah. But his body was never found or anything, so who knows? Since then, Edwards has reportedly been spotted in a market in India, and there have also been other alleged sightings, especially in the years immediately following his disappearance. However, none have been confirmed by investigators. His disappearance attracted a great deal of media attention. Caitlin Moran, writing in The Times, commented that Edwards became a, quote, cause celebre? Cool. Cause celebre among depressives, alcoholics, anorexics, and self-mutilators, because he was the first person in the public eye to openly talk about these subjects, not with swaggering bravado and a subtext of look how tortured and cool I am, but with humility, sense, and often bleak humour, end quote. Which I think is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I want to look up some interviews with this guy now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, it's really bad that he died, but in that scene, that would have made him an instant cult.
Yeah, absolutely.
figure.
He was very open about stuff, and he was also, the band also, spoke a lot about feminism and gender fluidity and that sort of thing.
That seems like it's pretty progressive for the time.
Yeah, it was very progressive. I think that's why they attracted such a cult following, and he attracted such a cult following. So the media at the time also tried to kind of blame Edwards and Cobain for inspiring copycat acts. And that same Caitlin Moran wrote, so some magazine called Melody Maker received a number of letters from fans distressed at the death of Kurt Cobain and the disappearance of Edwards. And Moran wrote in the Times of her distaste of the media treatment, saying, quote, arms were flung aloft and tongues tutted 2 weeks back when the first anniversary of Kurt Cobain's alleged suicide coincided with the 2-month anniversary of Richey Edwards' disappearance. And Melody Maker instigated a debate on escalating teenage depression, self-mutilation, and suicide, end quote. Which is pretty heavy. But
I wonder, was it not much of a thing before that?
I'm not sure. I guess when celebrities start doing stuff like that, I mean, they've always done stuff like that. I guess it's always been a thing. But when big names do it, it's probably going to.
Yeah. And I think this probably was the resurgence of the time that would have been popular beforehand would have been the first iteration of punk rock.
Yeah.
So Sex Pistols were, and Yeah, we're probably the first time that would have happened was then, but then the 90s was kind of the revival of that 20-year cycle was kind of coming around again, not that saying that they're exactly the same, but it seems to be in a similar vein.
Well, nowadays, they're not allowed to say that a celebrity suicided in the media because of things like that.
That it inspires other people to...
Yeah, and also like out of respect, I think, for the families and stuff. But yeah, and you're not even allowed to report on suicides in the paper and stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I heard that a few years ago.
Yeah. Like I think you can report on the death, but you can't. You've got to be pretty vague about cause of death.
Yeah.
Which makes so much sense, I think. So the 9th album by Manic Street Preachers called Journal for Plague Lovers was released on the 18th of May 2009 and is composed entirely of songs with lyrics left behind by Edwards. And up until 2005, the remaining members of the band still paid 25% of royalties into an account in his name. And they continue to set up a microphone for Edwards at every live performance, which is pretty touching.
That's awesome.
Edwards' family had the option of declaring him legally dead from 2002, but they chose to keep his status as a missing person until the 23rd of November 2008, when he became officially presumed dead. Guess how old he was when he disappeared?
26?
27.
Oh, yeah, of course. Why didn't I say that?
That's just a little bit of trivia I thought I had in there. They also have a song called Australia, which is pretty funky. But their album, The Holy Bible, is really good. And I recommend people listen to it for sure. But
my exposure to them has been purely through my dad listening to them. So now I need to go back and listen to their music.
They're pretty good. Like I listened to it when I was doing this and it's pretty fun. It's good. And like the lyrics are amazing.
Yeah, nice.
That was pretty deep. Lots of talk about.
Oh yeah, we went hard this episode on the serious side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Even though I researched this, I didn't even think about that sort of stuff. I was like, oh goodness me.
I don't think we left ourselves a ton of room for comedy this week, but
No.
it's fine. They're interesting. They're probably more interesting than they needed to be.
Yeah.
We'll pick more lighthearted ones, but this is good. We'll do a serious one from time to time.
Hopefully we haven't said anything that we shouldn't say.
Maybe I'm feeling more melancholy. That's why I haven't been making it. Also feel like I've had to tread lightly on a few of these topics.
Yeah.
So I'm not just throwing jokes out with reckless abandon, which has a tendency to get me in trouble.
Yeah. You've got to be careful about things you say. You don't want to piss anyone off or like trigger anyone.
I don't think the problem is with triggering people. I don't mind if some people get triggered because people get triggered at sometimes really menial things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to live my life in fear of that, but got to be sensitive.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, let's do an upbeat one next week.
Definitely.
Maybe like a bank heist. Maybe I'll do an alien abduction.
Yes.
Plenty of room for comedy with
I have
those.
tentative plans to do the hum. It could also be a thing where I always talk about doing the hum and then just never pay off.
I feel like I'll be scared to sleep alone after the hum.
I don't think the hum is really a supernatural phenomenon, though.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? I haven't done it. I haven't really researched it yet.
I think the fact that people have optical illusions scared me.
You should be most scared about these lights. They've been flickering the whole time.
I know, I'm so scared.
There's a minimum of one ghost in your house.
Don't say
I don't know how
that.
many there are.
Don't say that. I'm scared. I've also been watching The Haunting of Hill House or whatever it's called on Netflix.
Yeah, Have
you watched it?
No, I haven't watched it, but I keep getting notifications. Netflix really wants me to watch this show. They've been sending me email. I think I got a text about it the other day.
Really?
Does Netflix send text messages?
They don't text me.
Maybe it was a notification from the app.
Yeah, maybe.
But they keep sending me stuff. They're like, you need to watch
It's
this.
good.
So they're
really
really
good.
pushing it pretty hard.
Maybe we can watch it together because I don't like watching scary things on my own.
I don't like watching scary things at all, but I keep doing it to myself. But like I know I can't handle them, and then I'll watch something crazy, and then it'll affect me for weeks afterwards.
See, I'm like, I love horror is my favorite genre, but I don't like watching them on my own. And then at night, especially because I'm in this house on my own quite often, like my housemate works night shift. So over nighttime when like the house is settling and creaking and doing weird shit and like my cat's being weird, I'm like, I get in my own head and then I lock myself in my bedroom.
I'm glad to hear that it affects you as well, because I'm not good with it. So when I think about it afterwards, I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm sure people who are into horrors are fine with this, but it's good to know that you still think about. Because you can't push the thought out of your head. You're like, okay, all of the experience of my life, it points towards this. Like, there's nothing out of the ordinary here. But then there's like that portion in your mind where you're like, what if? And it would only take one experience to change my life. Yeah. Like, if I had one experience that I was 100% certain about, then how could I not change my entire worldview? Yeah. Like, if I had that.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't even need to be empirical evidence, but I would know that I know that I know. You know what I mean? It would ruin my life. Am I thinking about this too much?
Or it might not ruin your life. It might make it better.
No, it would definitely ruin my life. I'm just barely holding it together.
Yeah, I definitely get scared. On my uni holidays, I thought that I watched the whole like Hannibal movie series. Like Hannibal Rising, Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, and Hannibal.
Yeah.
But a week after, or a couple of days after, I found out there's another one called Manhunter.
Oh, I haven't heard of it.
I've never heard of it either.
Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it. So I think it's the first one that was made.
Yeah. There's a Hannibal TV series, right?
There is.
And it's got the bad guy from Casino Royale who plays Hannibal?
I'm not sure. I haven't watched it.
I like him as an actor.
It's an actor that like is familiar.
Yeah. He's like the typical creepy handsome. Like very handsome, but also is super uncomfortable to look at. Kind of like Cillian Murphy.
I love him.
Me too.
But yeah, Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal is just the best.
That was one of the best castings of all time.
Like he just fucking kills it. Absolutely kills it. I'm unsure whether I prefer Julianne Moore or the other one. The Clarice from, what's her name?
I like Judy
Foster.
Better. Yeah. I'm just a huge fan of Julianne Moore in general.
So am I. But I think at first I originally was like, oh, that role was made for Jodie Foster. But then she also has like a bit of a weakness to her that Julianne Moore as Clarice Starling doesn't have. But anyway, they're probably my favorite films.
They're untouchable.
They're just so fucking good.
Yeah.
If they ever try to remake them.
I think Silence of the Lambs might have been one of my first forays into a horror movie.
Yeah.
Because there was a period where I just didn't ever watch them, and then I had one of my friends was like, just watch a bunch of them and you'll desensitize yourself to how bad they are, which kind of worked, but then I think it overall did a lot of damage as well.
See, horror movies or like thrillers or whatever you want to call them that there's no supernatural stuff in, I'm fine with. Things that could happen, a serial killer walking through my door and stabbing me to death, not scared of. A fucking ghost haunting my house, terrified.
Yeah, I think that's my experience as well.
Yeah.
My where I'm susceptible, which doesn't make any sense at all, like I'm pretty fine with most of the time, but I get that one where if you're in the shower and you shut your eyes while you're washing your face, and then you're like, I'm locked into at least 5 to 10 seconds of eyes shut time.
Yeah.
And you feel so vulnerable. And it's like, my issue is not that I'll get attacked while my eyes are shut, but it's that I'll open my eyes when I'm done and it'll be right there. Yeah. Like directly in front of my face, whatever it is, just there.
Yeah.
And then I just don't know what I would do. And I think because I'm like not mobile and I would definitely slip over in the shower and stuff. And if I'm at home alone and I get that feeling, I think 9 times out of 10, it'll engage the fight mode, and I'll be like, I'll just get really pumped up, and I'll like, it's obvious, it's crazy behavior. If you had footage of me at home, I would be going to a mental hospital straight away. Like I'll sprint around the house going like, just being like really over the top about it. If you come across anything and you're already pumped up, like you're giving yourself the best chance you've got.
Yeah.
I feel like I shouldn't be admitting to this. It's really embarrassing. But in the shower, you're just so vulnerable and you can't grip it.
See, I go through stages where I'm like, yeah, I could fight, I could run, I could fucking jump off the balcony, whatever. But then I'm also like, if something supernatural is going to get you, it's going to get you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's no point. Sit down, put up the white flag.
No, I think there's a point to fighting. At least you know you've left it all.
Yeah.
If you go to the mat, like you're giving yourself the best chance you've got.
Yeah.
And I think that if it turns out not to be supernatural, like, yeah, you should definitely be fighting. If it's just a person.
Oh, if it's just a person.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of no person. No, I am. I'm terrified of everyone.
I'm not crazy about fighting somebody who has a weapon that I don't have. I want a level playing field.
Put your weapon down. Let's settle this like real men.
Yeah, which I would probably try that move. I'm oddly not at all concerned about a gun.
Well, because we're in Australia.
No, that's not the issue. It's not the fact there are no guns around, even though there are no guns around.
Yeah.
I think if I came up against somebody with a gun, I'd be like, I'm weirdly fine with this. And if you get in close and
like you're fine with them shooting you, or you just
I'm fine with all of it.
Scared of a gun.
Yeah, I think I'm less scared of it. I don't like the idea of facing somebody with a knife. I think
there's
I'd prefer
something so much
prefer
more-
them to have a gun than a knife.
Something so much more threatening than it. Because I think a person...
Yeah, knives look scary.
A person who's holding a knife looks so much more out of touch with reality.
A knife will turn you from 5'5" to 6'2".
Yeah.
And not because it's a 10-inch blade.
I'm not sure if I understand, but I'm sure it's funny.
Which just makes somebody a lot more imposing.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone with a knife is so much scarier than someone with a gun.
Yeah. Should we do the briefs homework this week, or should we just keep talking about it and never actually do it?
So we're buying some briefs and we're exercising them.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Here's my problem. The briefs will never get used again, and I know it's going to be uncomfortable.
Just buy some cheap ones.
Yeah.
Well, the brief, like, am I buying men's briefs?
Yeah, you said you're going to buy men's briefs.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll buy us some.
All right.
I'll go,
What kind of exercise? Don't say running.
When we go to boxing on the weekend.
That's pretty bad. That's going to be awful. All right. It's a deal.
Yeah. Well, that's when we exercise together so we can discuss throughout.
Yeah, it's going to be terrible. All right. Well, we'll report on that next week, I guess.
Can't wait.
And get ready for... No.
What?
I was going to say Halloween, but it's going to be 3 weeks ago by the time this comes out.
Yeah, by the time this comes out. I hope everyone had a really spooky Halloween.
Mm.
And you all didn't, and you all ate lots of candy. And none of it was poisoned. And no one got you with an onion masquerading as a toffee apple.
Yeah, the onion toffee apple is a classic. That's a good move.
For sure. I hope everyone got a handful of potato chips.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it because I'm going to be home alone, so the responsibility falls solely on me to chat to children. And I don't know if you've ever... I don't have a good dynamic with kids in that age range. Young kids, great. Once they get to that age, I'm just like, we have nothing in common, you and I. This is the worst dynamic.
Yeah.
It's like a certain level of old people I'm really good with.
Yeah.
And once it gets to like creepy old, I'm like, all right, I'm done. What am I supposed to say to you? Like, it's terrible. I just don't have any chemistry with them.
Yeah.
They're not my target demographic.
I'm okay with a child for like max half an hour. 10 minutes is a good amount of time for me with a child.
Yeah.
Because I can like humor them for that long. After that, I get a little bit annoyed.
I'm chill with babies and children that can speak words. Once they start speaking sentences, I'm out of my depth.
Yeah.
Single words I'm all about, though.
And they ask so many questions.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer them.
No, I have the answers that you're looking for, baby. I have too many questions of my own to be answering other people's questions.
Thank God we don't have children.
Yeah. Bullet dodged.
Hey, there's still time.
Well, for me there is.
For you there is. My clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't want children.
Your Big Ben-sized biological clock is definitely ticking.
Hey, I'm only 26. I've got 10 years.
Yeah, you've got ages. Well, I don't know about 10. No, you're going to have a really high risk of...
My mum had me at 36.
My mum had me at 45.
Did she?
Yeah.
I knew your parents were like older.
Yeah. I'm the youngest of 7 kids.
Yeah.
But I think it as far as the risks to mental health is, it's when you have your first one.
Yeah.
So when I strolled out at 45, I don't think it was a problem.
Wowee, 45. See, I've got fucking 20 years.
Yeah, you've got... No, it's the first one, though. Have one now, and then you could...
I don't want children. Anyway.
Yeah, okay. What if you get to 45, though, and you're like, oh, maybe I do.
Maybe I want one.
I'm sick of all this free time and disposable income.
Get another cat.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or maybe I'll get a dog, a Labrador.
A dog is definitely a step closer to a child than a cat. Cats are so low maintenance.
They're the best.
I think that pretty much, we've really explored our options here.
Yeah. This has been the 3-week late Halloween episode. We've talked about horror movies and stuff, so it's been quite festive.
Yeah, we've got enough spooky content in there, I think, for it being Halloween.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes, go and look at the show notes and photographs on our Instagram, Chains of Mystery Podcast. Or send us an email if you want at chainsofmystery@gmail.com.
Woo.
Woo. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.